We're here with a new week, and this week I wanted to experiment a bit more with Mardu, and instead of doing an aggro deck this time, I've decided to move on to control, and so far I've been really enjoying this deck. It's been kind of weird, like it's been struggling because I thought the main problem with the deck would be struggling against aggro, but it's actually been really solid versus faster decks. It's just the decks has been struggling out of being the ones that can just like Jund mid rangers can just throw out bomb after bomb. And there's a lack of life gain, which can be an issue. But playtesting it's been surprisingly solid. I thought it would just fall flat on its face. But yeah, that's without further ado. If you want to see the deck list, I'll put a link in the description to the No Goblins Allowed page where I've posted it, and then you can check it out then. Don't have to listen to me talk. But without further ado, let's get into my justifications. And yeah, first card we're running 3 Cloud Shifts. Cloud Shifts in here because it can serve 2 purposes. It can protect our bigger creatures, because by the time we cast them, generally they have like removal. They've got at least one removal spell stocked up. So if you can Cloud Shift and protect your creature, that's always nice. It can also serve as a surprise block with your big creature. So if you swing with a Benslayer, you can Cloud Shift and have a 5/5 blocker sitting back as well, which is why it's in here over Undying Evil, because Undying Evil, to be honest, is better card, but they have to have like attempt to kill it. So it's better if they like try and bounce it or something. That Cloud Shift, that's in here. That's why it's in here. It's just more consistent Cloud Shift over Undying Evil. And the second purpose it can do is that if you have like a Wall of Almonds or a Phyrexian Rager, you can Cloud Shift it, draw an extra card, and then it can help you like dig out of situations. If you're getting overwhelmed by aggro, you can start searching your deck for them board wipes you may need. So that's why Cloud Shift's in here. We don't need 4 because for some reason they turn up. I can have 3 in a starting hand. I don't know why they're so persistent compared to some other cards, but they're in here and they've definitely been really helpful. Next we run on to one of only 6 2-drops, which is something I'm not a big fan of, but it's something I've just had to knuckle down and accept, because there really isn't too many good ones. The only other one I could miss out is Brain Maggot, which isn't in here. It's just because this deck's focused on board wiping, and so if you play a Brain Maggot and then you have to wipe the board, then you're just giving them the good thing you've exiled of them back. So that's why Brain Maggot didn't make it in here. But yeah, Wall of Almonds pretty much all include. It's big enough to get around board wipes. It can hold back big blockers, just like jump them for a turn. It can stall aggro for a bit. We kind of wish I had 1 power just to take out them tokens, but then again it'd be a lot better card if it did have that. Even still, it's a really powerful card, and it's, like I said, it's one of the only. So I'm always happy to see this guy in my starting hand. Next we move on to Brimaz. Brimaz is in here because yet again needs something. He wasn't actually originally in the deck because I thought a double white would be too difficult to cast, but the man has been solid, so he made it in, and he's fantastic early game. He can hold the fort for you single-handedly while you search for that board wipe. And again, he's out of the range of the Anger of the Gods, which is always nice. So that's why he's in here. Hasn't actually shown up too much yet, but I know if he does show, he's always going to be welcome. Next we move on to the White Bomb, which is Benslayer Angel. Bainslayer's in here because it's Baneslayer. That's really all you need to know. This card. If you want 3 wins, you put Baneslayer in your deck. It's my bomb. We can protect it. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't really think anyone's surprised to see that in this deck, so we'll just skip through it. Next we run 3 Angelic Edicts. This is for the big threats. Graveyard interaction is pretty common out there, and this just says no. So if they play like a Shaldred, you can just exile it, and then they can never see it again. Same with Kozilek. There's no reshuffling the library, and there's also enchantments. So if someone's got a Beastmaster's Ascension or something like that, it's not the end of the world if you can top deck one of these, which hasn't happened yet, but I hope it does. And yeah, so it's just completely removed from the game. You never have to worry from it again. That's why I run 3. We don't need all 4 because it is quite heavy on the expensive side, especially considering I'm not going to go into other cards which could have been given. But yeah, next we run our sweepers. These are white sweepers, Planar Cleansing. The triple white is obviously not the easiest thing to catch, but I feel in this deck it's definitely. I haven't so far when I've had to use it, the mana hasn't been an issue. I can see that coming up. Obviously triple white is decently demanding, but we do skew it heavily towards white, so it's not too much of an issue. And like I said, I haven't been screwed over by it yet, and let's hope that continues. Next we move on to black, which is our card draw, which is Phyrexian Rager. The life gain is an issue. I mean, I know it's only one life when you draw a card, and that's definitely worth the exchange. It's just if you're like getting quite low on life and you need to cantrip, if you're like down to like 6 life, you're really hesitant about playing one of these guys, even though they draw your card. But in that situation, you're pretty much screwed anyway, so you just knuckle down and do it. So I mean, this guy is really good early game. He's a card which I don't care if Anger of the Gods has to blow, and I don't care if they remove it. I don't care jumping down with this guy. He's literally here to draw a card and stall the game a bit longer. So that's run all 4 of these guys. I mean, we don't get visionaries in these colours, unfortunately, and this is the next best thing, so that's why he's here. Shadowburn Demon, we really don't want too many creatures, so it may seem weird, but Shadowburn's in here because he's a removal spell. He can hold them back a turn, and if you get Childe, you can get a pretty nice combination out with them too. Just in theory, you have infinite removal spells coming out from there, and yeah, he's just a powerful guy. Like I said, if I have to sack out a Phyrexian Rager or a Wall of Omens to keep this guy around for a turn longer, that's something I'm definitely willing to make, and he's in here definitely. Also, I haven't actually got that Kill an Angel with Shadowburn achievement yet, so that's something I'm going to be hunting for this next week. Next we want a Childe, and no surprise to see this guy here. I mean, girl, I guess I should say. But yeah, she just wins games. As simple as you can protect it. She makes it a turn, she's won you the game pretty much 95% of the time. She just completely overwhelms your opponent. And that's yeah, I've justified Childe so many times now that it's kind of just rehearsed. Next we run Runescar Demon. Only one Runescar Demon because pretty much it says second Childe 95% of the time. But I mean, if they're playing tokens, you can grab a board. I mean, it's a lot more versatile in this deck because if you need a board wipe, you just grab board wipe. You want to take out a couple tokens, Inferno Titan, stuff like that. Just anything you might need, this guy can get. And we only won ROM because you really don't want to see. I don't know why, but this deck, when I was running 2, you'd always have one in your starting hand, and that's obviously not what you want to be, not where you want to be. And we don't actually have any ramp outside of Darksteel Ingots if you count them. So 7 is getting quite high. So if you don't want to see this guy in your starting hand every game, so I felt like 1's enough, and he does still show up enough to justify that. Next we run Banefire when we move on to red, and Banefire, it's an interesting one. I like Banefire because it finishes off your opponent. It can end a game like no other against a counter deck because they can't do anything about it, and you can sink all your mana into it and stuff like that. So it's a really good card. I'm almost tempted to run Suffer the Past instead of this, and I know Suffer the Past is a weird card, but it's just the life gain can be an issue, and Suffer does pretty much the same thing, but it's just so unreliable. And the final clincher that made me put Banefire instead of Suffer was because so much of my removal is Exile, and that obviously it just gels horribly with Suffer the Past. But I mean, we might see how that plays out. If I feel like graveyard decks are screwing me over, or I just need to gain that life and stuff like that, then I may make the change. But at the minute, Banefire is the number 1 in that list, so we took it there. 3 Shocks because Shock is really, really good early game. It's so many creatures you just love to. It's so satisfying to just shock something the minute it hits the field. People don't really play around it either. I mean, you can see a lot of people just seem to like dry drop Talrans and stuff, and that's obviously a mistake. And yeah, so that's why Shock's in here. Just efficient. It's Shock. It's so versatile. You can even go to the face and kill your opponent if it needs to. Anger of the Gods because it's our only option for token decks, and it's pretty much the only option in the game for token decks. A lot of games just generally come down to, do you have Anger of the Gods, if you can win the game or not, and unfortunately that's why we're running both of them, and that's why it's pretty much essential, and pretty much always happy to see this thing, except if we make a very late game, and even there, I mean, you can hit him with a shock and then Anger of the Gods and exile it and stuff like that, which is always nice. So it's not even that useful late game, so it's definitely in here. Red Bomb, Inferno Titan, just yeah, no surprises again. I mean, it's pretty standard that this would be a red bomb. It just has an effect as soon as it hits the field. Has an effect when it swings in, can pump it. It's just a fantastic card. I mean, yeah, there's nothing really more needs to be said. 3 Dark Seal Ingots because it's a bit of mana ramp. It's the best mana ramp I think we're gonna get in, because I mean obviously we don't have access to green, so no culverts, which is obviously disappointing. But even still, I mean, it can mana fixes and mana ramps. I mean, you need what, triple white, triple red, double black. So that it's pretty demanding, especially without any, like I said, any mana fixing really. So Dark Sealing gets in here to be that said mana fixing, and most of the time this thing it's really powerful. You can get mana efficient with it. You know, like you have 4 mana available, play this, and then follow it with like a Wall of Omens, and then that's always a pretty efficient turn or something like that. And yeah, that's why I definitely run all 3. Next we run into the MVP of the deck, which is True Fire Paladin. This thing just, it saves days. I mean, I'm not exaggerating with this thing has won me games single-handedly. One game I pumped this guy about 6 times to kill the opponent. I mean, what did he have? He had what's it called? Jump Speaker Devil on the field. He didn't block for some reason, even though he was on like 12 life, and I just pumped this thing up to kill him. He was tapped out, and yeah, it's such an early game. It's a fantastic blocker because of vigilance, and you can give it first strike. And late game, you can force really uncomfortable blocks by your opponent just by the threat of pumping it to lethal. So even if that guy had played around that better, you would have had to, you know, you'd have just had to chump it down. I would have pumped it once to make it a 4/2, then given it first strike, and then suddenly his creature just died to a two mana cost creature. And that's, I mean, it's just fantastic card. There's versatility in this deck, which is so nice. It's also the only other 2-drop in this deck, so it's pretty much, it's just always nice to see this guy. I mean, yeah. No. And then finally, last bit of removal, Augustbury. It's instant speed, which is really nice. It gets around them 4 toughness creatures that anger can't hit, such as Brimazes, you know, Ronks War Monks, stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I only run 2 when there's possible 4 because, you know, I mean, it's not like absolutely 100% too amazing, especially against late game stuff where. But I mean, I have actually pulled off one guy playing Inferno Titan, didn't take out my True Fire Paladin, and I had 5 mana to sink, so I August Breed it, and then give my True Fire first strike, and then yeah, his 10/2 just died to a 2/1. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice that you can just weaken stuff down and finish it off with like a shock or something like that. And that's the main deck really. I mean, it's been performing really solid. Like I said, I mean, the life gain's an issue. The only card I've really been thinking about adding has been, I don't know why I'm clicking, I know that's really loud. It is literally at the very end as well, but I'm sure you know which one I'm going to. Resolute Archangel. But, you know, it's just, it's a 4/4 flying for 7, which is so much mana, but it does take you back up to 20. So, I mean, it's an interesting one. I'd like to know people's opinions on that. But, like I said, what do you drop? Do you drop RuneScud Demon? That's the only thing I think you'd really, debate losing. So it's an interesting one, but at the minute I think I'm just going to keep it as it is. Like I said, we might make that change later on. And let's move on to lands, which is really simple actually. Normally I edit lands if they don't work, but like I said, it's been solid so far. So I'm running 3 Nomad Outposts, and then I mean obviously you can run the tri lands instead of these 3, but I just like to do this just because it's clarity and I'm more likely to confuse myself than the opponent. So we run 3 Orzhov, 3 Boros, and 3 Rakdos. So yeah, I mean, them sources are fairly even. Then obviously we skew towards white on the. I don't know why I did that. It doesn't even tell you how many there is, but yeah, we skew towards white with 6, and then only 3 black because all our black stuff is late game. Generally, yeah, all our like double blacks is late game. So if you can get a tri-land out, you're fine. And then red because we run 4 because you want the Anger of the Gods. I mean, we run so much white because you want to be able to cast Brimaz on turn. You want to be able to cast Benslayer on turn. Same with Planar Cleansing if you need to. Or black, I mean, these guys are fairly. You can get away with missing a turn or 2. And red, you definitely want to be able to cast Anger on turn. And like I said, the mana hasn't been too much of a problem. So yeah, that's the deck really, and let's see if it can perform decently well. I mean, I don't think it's a top tier deck by any stretch of the imagination, but it's been performing interestingly, to say the least. It's bombed out a couple of times, but that's, I mean, I run 25 lands, and I've had games where I'm mulled down to 5 and still only seen one land. So I don't think you can really blame the deck for that. It's just luck, just messing you up. So yeah, I mean, I'll stop rambling now and say thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see how this deck gets on. So see you guys then.